Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? A big cheer? Are we alive? Are we surviving the heat? Amazing. Well, our last session today is very exciting. It's the year of the perfect pitch. And introducing none other than Mr. Richard, who is the managing director of Ingenuity. Along with the rest of his panel, we've got Richard, the marketing director from Number 7. And we've got Sara Holt, the CMO of Parcs, and Claire from Identity. So please give them a big round of applause and enjoy the last panel.
Well, what can I say? Absolute treat for me. I mean, hopefully it's going to be for you too. I get to sit alongside three of the country's top chief marketing officers and senior marketers, and I'm going to explain why. Sara Holt is the chief marketing officer of Parcs. You're going to hear more about the way that she is changing the way we think about experience and how she's changing the way we should think about agencies. The amazing Richard Bowden, marketing director of Number 7. Anybody that shops for makeup like me will only ever go and buy Number 7, and that is a direct result of Richard. Also, we thought, purely to make it easy for Claire and Sara, we both called ourselves Richard for the purpose of this presentation, so just say that and it's going to work really well. And lastly, Claire Jefferies, who's the Chief Marketing Officer of Identi. Now, I will just explain Identi because I think it's one of the most fascinating brands in the UK. We'll hear more about it from her, obviously, but they effectively have control, would that be the right word?
We don't like to use the word control.
But basically, every single microchip that you might find in a cat or a dog in the UK has got something to do with Claire. And as an amazing fast growth scale up, you might wonder what's actually going on with that microchip, what data's on that microchip, what could you do with that microchip, and that is where Claire comes in. But it's not about cats and dogs, is it?
Not just about cats and dogs, we also have hedgehogs. Why, people say? Because you can't tell a hedgehog apart from another one. So if you want to know which hedgehog it is, you need the chip. We've got some rhinos, we've got snakes, we've got lizards, we've got all sorts of things.
Where do you put the microchip on a snake?
Somewhere where they can't bite you.
What? Is it like a necklace, or is it actually attached to them?
No, it goes in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. We could just
You
do
just got to do it carefully.
Do you have snakes at Parcs?
No, we don't have snakes at Parcs. I had to think about that. No, we don't.
No, okay. I was just
Plenty
checking.
of amazing animals, unique species, but no snakes that I'm aware of.
Phew, great.
I'll have to ask one of our rangers.
Perfect. Now, I will be asking the questions. However, we're going to hopefully leave time at the end for 2 or 3 questions from you. So as you're going, if there's anything that you think I should have asked and I haven't bothered asking that you really wanted me to ask, now is your chance to ask Sara, Claire, or Richard, and they will do their best efforts to answer it. If obviously it's a deliberately pointy and ridiculous question, I will smother your question with humour and distract you, everybody, and they won't notice the fact they're not going to be answering the question. So, but ask great marketing questions of them. Now, question number 1, quick fire round. Claire, what's making you feel optimistic and upbeat about marketing right now?
Everything. For us, this is a year of major transformation. At the end of last year, we found 10 major interventions we wanted to make across the whole business, one of which was brand and making sure that we found the right agency partner to transform our business. We're well on the way, officially in H2 now, right? So we're well on the way for all those big transformations, but every change we make, we're seeing immediate impact, and that's what it's all about.
Fantastic. Richard, what's making you feel? What do you get out of bed with a smile every day?
Well, I'm going to start with a challenge. It's pretty tough out there, isn't it, across the board? You know, it's up and down quite a lot. But I'm upbeat because ultimately, during those kind of turbulent times, I always find that what you really need is you need marketing. We are the engine of growth, and I'm really seeing the spotlight in the boardroom change from perhaps more the customer service, the customer execs, and the FD turning to the CMO. So I'm really upbeat about that, and it's our time to grasp it.
Fantastic. Sara, why are you feeling happy?
Well, at the moment, I'm living my best life. I started at Parcs 14 weeks ago. It's an epic business that has standout guest satisfaction scores, that is fully sold out all the time. You wonder why they need a marketer. There's so much to go after. We're driving a whole transformation around customer experience, around how we position the brand. We're looking very differently at our data and tech stack. And there's just so many opportunities. And we're talking about what would we do if we were the business that owned all premium leisure guests in the UK. And we're doing really well. How many businesses could sit here on a stage and say we're doing 50
to 20% up year-on-year growth. And that's a wonderful place to start from as a CMO. And they've put a CMO on the board because they recognise at the shareholder level that there is more to go after. So I feel like I have an amazing opportunity.
Well done, well done. Now, 2025, Richard, we've been calling it the year of the perfect pitch. Now, we run a quarterly quant survey. Tracker, it's the largest rolling survey of marketing directors and above in the UK. We do it every quarter, and we ask them some quite obvious questions, one of which is, how likely are you to pitch some or all of your marketing in the next 12 months? Bit of an open goal question, but the answers this time around were 73% of marketing directors in the UK will definitely be pitching some or all of their marketing in the next 12 months. 27% will probably be pitching some or all of their marketing in the next 12 months. For the mathematicians in the room, you'll have noted that's 100% of marketing directors will be definitely or probably be pitching some or all of the marketing in the next 12 months. Now, the way I'm framing this, Richard, is all about agencies pitching to brands, brands making decisions. But brands are having to pitch to customers every single day. If you were to just pull out a couple of brands who you think are doing it right, they're pitching well, their message is cutting through, who would you point us at?
Yeah, well, number one, isn't it interesting, like I said before, how many marketing directors are looking to pitch their business? It goes back to seeking out growth. But for me, two brands always stand out for me. One is Diageo and Guinness. I think they do a phenomenal job all the way through consistently. In particular, for example, a lovely day for Guinness. I don't know if you've seen the summer campaign. I think it's the third year in a row. Really, the challenge there for me was always how do you create a new occasion to drink that black liquid, which is not often thought of in the summer, usually a winter drink. And just to associate it, not just in terms of, what I love is not just in terms of, making sure it's there at the right time, right place with all their pub activations, they're out of home, but the creative, the emotion, the big idea, how they build that emotional hook consistently. You saw the surfboards, for example, with the Guinness. They've always been consistent creatives around that. I think that's beautiful. And the other thing I really like is keeping hold of the same kind of agencies that they keep through. So that consistency, that focus on the big idea, the emotional hooks, combined with more rational execution is perfect in my book. And that's something I always seek as well. And the second one, if I may, is I love the AXA execution that won in the Titanium in Cannes. I thought that was exceptional. And I don't know if you saw that was all about, they identified that in France, where it's mandatory to have home insurance, they added on the policy that not only if you can get rehomed around floods and fire, but also if you're suffering domestic abuse, which I thought was amazingly powerful. So people could ring up, a woman could ring up and say, I'm suffering domestic abuse, and then they would give the money and they'd rehouse them immediately, which I thought was just amazing. And that purpose-driven, directly related to their business, I think is perfect. And I think that really, for me, really makes me think what we can do as number 7, and also across the portfolio brands I run. So I thought it was perfect.
Love it, thank you. So we're going to think about pitching, per se. So Claire, you've just successfully concluded a pitch.
Yep, we have.
Brilliant. Who did you hire?
We took Perfect Storm, based out of Leeds. They're not here.
That's right. Mad Up North, March, they'll be
Absolutely.
there. We'll put them on stage. You are obviously heavily backed by VC, private equity, and you're in a scale-up, so fast growth acquisition. When you are thinking from the marketing perspective about making a sort of a big creative leap forward, how do you do that? How do you make that decision to make the big jump that you're going to do with Perfect Storm versus just play it safe and keep going?
I think it entirely depends on the business context. As you've said, we're in a transformation world. We're massive scale up. We are trying to create a new category. We're trying to educate. That requires creativity and it requires bold moves. But I've also worked in very regulatory-backed businesses, in the energy industry, financial services. There you might want to think more about building trust, building capability. That might not be the moment to do the big, bold, creative space. But I think equally, one of the risks that you have is to not be creative. I think it's too easy to sink into the safety of, well, this has always worked. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. There's no need to change it. That in itself can create quite a big risk to your business. So I would always think about, what is it that we're trying to do? How do we align our creativity to our strategic intent? And I think that's something that's really, really important to me as a leader. And I think it's something where creativity isn't the goal in itself. Creativity helps you to get to your goal.
Because you spoke to me at the start of the pitch about the way that people think about microchips in pets is it's all about regulation. People get fined. If you don't have a chip, you get fined how much money? 500 quid or something?
It's about £500. Very few people. I think there's been about 3 people who have been fined for not having their pet chipped.
But the communication model is all about fear.
Yeah.
And it's all about fear. It's like, whereas the reality check is the reason why you need a microchip is because if your pet gets lost, if that rhinoceros for some reason gets lost and no one quite knows who owns it, then you're able to scan the rhino like a sort of a bag of bananas at the supermarket.
Exactly. Just put
and
it
then find
through.
out who owns it.
And that's exactly it. You know, I came into the business about 9 months ago, and it was very regulatory-led. It was threatening about DEFRA. Most people don't know who DEFRA are, and if they do, they don't really care. And actually, when you think about what your pets mean to you, your pet is like another child. It's like a member of your family, and it's a much more emotional category than a rational category. And I think historically the business has been very rational, and I think building on creativity and creating a much more emotional resonance with customers is what we're trying to create. We're still at the early stages, but that's absolutely what's really important to our customers. Our job is to reunite you with your pet. If your pet goes missing, or you don't know where it is, or your pet's stolen, we help you get that pet back. And that's the power, and that's the job that we're trying to do as well with our agencies. So actually really diving in and grabbing that emotional hook with customers is something that we really, really are passionate about.
And then my one quick public service announcement for anybody that actually does any pet, because this stat staggered me, is, remind me, the percentage of dogs which are lost that get found and then they have their microchip scanned but never get given back to their owners because the data on the microchip is incorrect is...
70%.
70%. So 70% of dogs which are lost, found, scanned, the microchip has incorrect information on it. Previous owner, previous address, previous vet, dog's home, you name it.
So if you've got a pet, job for you tonight, go and check that your details are up to date. It's really, really important. It's so tragic. Wood Green charity, who do amazing work, you know, 70% of the animals that come to them are really well loved. You can tell, you know, the animals are in good health, but they cannot be reunited. You'd be amazed at how far a pet can travel. We've had cats that were found 250 miles away from their home because they climbed in the back of an Amazon van and ended up at the other end of the country. So make sure your details are up to date because you can't just find them locally.
Now, talking about details that are up to date, Sara, you have just been through a very hard-won pitch.
Yeah.
And I know the agency, the one that is in the room, so they're going for it as well. But I'd really like to know when you have taken the major leap forwards, but why did you do that, and what did you see in that pitch process?
So Centre Parcs is a hugely loved brand, but it hasn't done a great job at telling its story. All the heritage, all the amazing ESG work that's done by our rangers, the years of family experiences that happen at Centre Parcs. I've been a Centre Parcs guest for 20 years. We rebook our holiday like most people do within 3 weeks of coming to Centre Parcs. And it's an amazing business, but we were looking for a partner who understood and had that close association with the heritage and the love. And actually the agency that won the pitch have been coming to Centre Parcs most of their lives. They even played videos of their children learning to ride bicycles in the pitch at the end. And it actually happens to be true that our CEO will not allow anyone on the business who does not have a deep understanding of the heritage of the brand. But equally, where we've been will only get us so far. So what we were looking for was somebody who could put that together with a really premium aesthetic as we move much more into a premium brand world, and really elevate the storytelling and also have deep brand strategy expertise, which was Neverland. So they won the pitch fair and square, and it was really hard fought. It was the first decision that I had to make in week number 6. I was on gardening leave when I was coming in for chemistry meetings. That was quite an interesting experience. But I think the thing that I have learnt, both for CMO processes, for which I was in a lot last year, and also for pitch processes, is a lot of this is not about whether or not the agency is good or whether or not you're the right person for that role. it's to do with chemistry, and it's to do with it being the right mixture and alchemy at that particular moment. So, the other agencies did great jobs, but did they understand and have the heritage of Center Parcs? Did they have the premium aesthetic that we need? No, they didn't. And as you go on this journey further, you sort of understand that a lot of it is about that meeting of minds at that particular moment.
Nice, brilliant, thank you. And did you work with an intermediary?
We did work with an intermediary. We worked with wonderful Jill.
Is she in the room?
She is in the room. She runs all my pitches. She has done for 10 years or something. And actually, and it's probably just worth calling this out, I think the best relationships I've ever had have not been just about the pitch. They've been about the relationship going forward. But you just spot in that moment that this agency has got the things that I need to build the relationship for the long term, whatever that may be. And I just remember years ago with the media agency, it was that they just had a cultural fit that was exactly what was perfect for what we needed at that moment in time. And that outlasted people, it outlasted CEOs, it was everything that we needed. And I think what Jill does a brilliant job of is understanding what that need is and putting the right agencies in the room.
Brilliant, thank you for that. Okay. She'll pay you £10 later. How do you make the case? So you've all been talking about leadership, but I'd like to understand, how do you make the case when you're walking in, there's probably going to be a budget that's been set, it might be a budget that's just an extra percentage point on what happened last year, but when you're going to make a big transformative leap, Claire, I'm going to come to you first because you're so close to the money, how do you make that case, and who are you making that case to, so that you can unlock your agencies?
So my last two roles have both been with private equity-backed companies, and they're quite different to my previous roles, which were big corporate blue chips. And I think what's really important to recognize is that marketing should be a profit center, not a cost center. And it's that mindset. A lot of businesses see marketing as a nice to have. I think your point earlier, Richard, about marketing being where the growth factory is, that's really, really critical that we get there. I've always worked on much more of the commercial side of marketing, what I call the spreadsheet side of marketing, rather than the creative side of marketing. So for me, it's always been that proximity to the finance team. We need to work as internal marketers with our own teams. So all the skills that we use to talk to our customers, the way we get the insights of what our customers want and our customers' needs, we absolutely have to apply the same thinking to our internal customers. So we need to understand what's driving the CFO's decisions, what really matters. Is this a challenge about cost? Is this a challenge about efficiency? Is it a challenge about revenue growth? Usually all of the above. But how do we talk in the language that they understand? How do you build the credibility? And I think once you've built credibility, that you've made an intervention, that intervention has been successful, you can demonstrate the value that you've added, that gives you more leeway to be more creative and be more bold. I think it's really important when you're an incoming CMO that you can really demonstrate value. One of the first things that I did was a proposition change that was designed to increase revenue by 30%. And I wanted to do that before I asked for the money to do our brand repositioning. Because if I'd done it the other way around, it would have been, you just want to do the fun stuff. The pitching, and we also used Ingenuity, who were also fabulous, by the way. But if you actually, I'm waiting for my £10 from you. But if you actually start off with delivering value, delivering revenue first, it gives you so much more leeway to ask for permission to do the big, bold, creative moves.
And then I want to ask, on pitching, now I think I'm going to ask about probably no more than 2 more questions. And so if you've got questions you'd like to ask, I'm completely out of sync with what the time is, Mr. Time Man, because I know we started late. Thank you. And then you've all got lunch. So I'm going to ask one more question, and I'm going to take a couple of questions before. Best pitches you've experienced. I really would love Richard and Sara. I know you were just rabbiting on earlier on about, so there's just some of the tactics and techniques that agencies have seen that you've experienced. It's really struck a chord with you. I might start with you, Sara, and then come on to you, Richard.
Well, the last pitch, the Center Parcs pitch, they actually recreated a forest in the room that we came into. That was pretty special. I think the other thing that has become really prevalent at the moment is I've sat in so many pitches where it all looks the same through AI. And about 18 months ago, I started being able to spot, oh God, there's another mid-journey pitch. And actually, what I'm now able to spot is when it's unique from a craft and creativity point of view, because it looks different to all the other stuff. So I think if you can get the alchemy right in terms of the pitch theatre, combined with your stuff actually looks different to everybody else's, that's a really potent thing in the middle of a pitch.
Fantastic. Richard?
Yeah, I always look for a couple of ingredients. The first one is really understand the business problem as well as the customer, but truly deeply. The other piece is, I think it is about nurturing that creative process. So working with the agency as part of the tissue sessions, etc., really getting to understand each other and partnering to make sure we get the best outcome on the pitch. I always believe in not only seeing the presentation, but experiencing it. So any agency that can take the next step, and I'll come on to a story in a second, to really help you to feel their idea rather than just be presented at, I think is exceptional. And then be a board ally as well.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I've had to step into the boardroom with British Airways or Unilever or here at Boots to convince a board to give us a load of money to change, to transform a brand. You need a creative agency that's with you step by step in that process to tell the story in a beautiful, powerful way to get the full money. So I think they're the ingredients. The best story for me is when I was at British Airways. I was running a big pitch again with Ingenuity. There's no the theme here, but there you go. We were taking around a whole circuit of all the different agencies being presented to. One agency took the brave decision to take us out of London to T5. We were sat, I don't know if anyone knows, there were Cafe Nero and T5. We were told to sit there, and the opening wasn't a presentation, it was all of you spend 5 minutes just looking at all the customers coming in through T5 and watch their faces. And we all noticed, of course, that everyone was stressed beyond belief. They were all panicking, they were all rushing, looking around, didn't know where they are. And obviously the point being, why are we not doing more to actually help that process, to relieve that stress? Why is it so cold, so icy? Why are there not places to break out? And that helped to drive that deep understanding of the insight customer, helped us to spark an amazing revolution at British Airways, sparked how we changed the app, the cabins, through to the lounges, a real 360. I'll always remember that agency, and I think it comes back full circle. The agencies that you work with that can impress you with those experiences, you'll always remember, and you'll remember those people. It's a relationship business, and I think that's really tremendously powerful when you look for big ideas and creativity to unlock growth.
But just on that, because we've talked about this a lot, the single most important thing that we have both made the decision on is whether or not we can take this agency into the boardroom. You can do all the theatre in the world, but if you can't send them in to see your CFO, then you can't hire those people.
That's
it's
so spot on. You've got to have the both sides, don't you? And we're big believers. I think that's it, because it's really... when you present to the board, you're pretty much on your own. You need that support, and often agencies drop off. You know, where is the support all the way through? So honestly, trusted partners, allies of the boardroom can take you through. You'll get the money, you'll get the support, and my goodness, you'll bring that to life, that big idea.
And you've gone a stage further with that.
Yeah, no, so actually with Neverland, I don't even go anymore. I just send them in.
Yeah.
Like, I send them in all the time.
Brilliant.
Like, let my... board peers going in. Actually, that was on a recommendation from a CMO that had worked with them before. He said you could just send them in, which is, I have never done that before. Yeah. But I cannot tell you how great that is, because I'm in my first 100 days still. So I need people who I can divide the work with. Yeah. And they're really good at that. I always get really good feedback. I get about 16 WhatsApps of how much fun they had at Neverland, which is wonderful.
I love that. It's a great lesson.
Brilliant. So, a couple of questions from the floor, and then Maze will tell us to wrap up. So, who would like to ask a question of Claire, Richard, or Sara, man in the almost Newcastle United top of the front? If I'll hear you and I'll repeat it.
Yeah, fine. You talked about like seeing the insight in something, but how important is it for an agency to bring human insight into the pitch?
So the question is, how important is it for an agency to bring human insight into the pitch? Who would like to take that?
I can take that.
Yep.
I mean, literally all of the 3 agencies who are in the final pitch for Centre Parcs had all done insight and research and had data against the ideas that they were presenting and whether or not they'd work against our core brief. So it's critical. I'm a really data-driven marketer, and if you talk about our business and our CFO, they all wanted to know that this stuff had been researched, so it's absolutely critical. They'd all done research at the early stage. I mean, bringing the guest in is really fundamental to our business, so I don't think you can do it anymore. And also, research has got a lot easier now, so like how you could not do some research through an extensive process would be problematic for me.
I just want to, and Bill, I couldn't agree more, and I think there's 2 other things I'd point out. One is, I have seen a lot of pitches where the accuracy of the research wasn't good enough. And I think that's a black mark. So do it, but do it well, I think is the other lesson. But also nothing more powerful than bringing actual customers into the room, hence the T5 example, and we were talking about that. So I think it's imperative.
I think just on that one as well, it's the quality of the insight. We saw many agencies who said, people love their pets.
Yeah.
That's not an insight. So actually just making sure that you are not going to tell the people listening to the pitch stuff that they're really going to already know. So it's about bringing something fresh, something different, and different way of looking at the category, a different way of thinking. And the most successful agencies that we saw in our process did exactly that.
Great. One quick fire question. It's going to be a quick question. Anybody want to ask a quick question? Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. You shout it, I'll repeat it.
All of you talked about the importance of chemistry and building chemistry with the agency throughout the process. What advice can you give agencies to do that when you actually get quite limited time with the clients
Yep.
in the lead up to the pitch? It's quite difficult to get tissue sessions often, like we're not given that opportunity. So yeah,
So the question is, for those who didn't hear it, chemistry is regularly and repeatedly said as being important in the pitch process, which it is. However, the opportunity to build chemistry is limited in some pitch processes. And what advice might you have for an agency to get that time, get that chemistry improved? Richard?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think two things from me. One is anyone who doesn't give you the time, beware.
Yeah,
because that's the whole point.
Exactly.
So that shows you how serious they are, and I'd watch out, because if you want to do great work, they'll give you the time. So that's the first thing. And the thing that I look for is really honesty. So the thing I look for is can I challenge that team in the room, and can they challenge me back? It's usually the way back that I often falls over, and it's that bravery. So they're the things. So watch out if someone says they won't give you the time. But what I seek is honesty. Can the agency or team challenge my perception and my point of view directly and sharp?
Yeah, but the other thing I would just add to that is do your homework. It's normally quite easy to find out what these people need. Like, I mean, I get asked all the time, one of your friends is coming in to see one of my friends. Can you give me a two-line brief on what they need, and find the way in, and do your homework on the business. What does the business need? So when you're having those conversations, even though you might be limited in time, it's really the right questions that you're asking so that you can build the rapport and very quickly just get through all of that stuff. And then I just cannot second enough what you've said. Like, I know how false the pitch process is. Like, you can spot really quickly the clients who are in this to build a relationship and do great work because they just clear their diary to do it properly versus the ones who aren't. So be wary. And just like I was with CMO processes, be very wary. There are a lot of clients out there who don't want to do the things that you want to do. And you should really, really ask the questions of yourself about how much time you're putting into it.
We had a really rapid pitch process. We're a small company. We don't have huge budgets, so ours was really fast. We sort of had a one-stop with everyone getting 90 minutes. Some people brought 30 slides. Some people brought 200. Step away from the slides. If you're doing a short process, have a conversation. Too many of the people we saw, they wanted to get through their slides because they'd worked so hard on them and they were so beautiful, but we learned nothing about them beyond what was on the screen. And actually the agency that won did 30 slides, but we had a fantastic conversation with them, and that's what won them the pitch ultimately.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, we are at time. So, however, I would just say, if you can't get enough of Sara, Richard, and Claire, there's an extra special treat. You can come and have more. So in the jungle at 2:15, I'll be doing a one-on-one interview with Sara. In the jungle at 2:45, I'll be doing a one-on-one interview with Richard. And in the jungle at 3:15, I'll be doing a one-on-one interview with Claire. Last about 20 minutes, and you will get an opportunity to ask some questions there of them as well. So without further ado from me, I just really want to say thank you to each of you for coming today. I've learned a lot, and I think you're all fantastic in the brands that you run.